Nice of you to drop in.
Hello people, I'm the Real Comic Book Gamer. Today I'm going to be counting down my top 5 favorite Wolverine fights of all time. Now, spoilers for a bunch of Wolverine books, and I'm only doing Wolverine versus villain, so that's why there's no Wolverine versus Hulk fights on here. But yeah, now that that's out of the way, let's get into it. Number 5 is Wolverine versus Mystique. Now, this fight takes place in the Wolverine versus the X-Men storyline. And what happens is Wolverine is chasing Mystique throughout this whole issue, because prior to this, the storyline before Wolverine versus the X-Men was Wolverine goes to hell, and as the title says, Wolverine went to hell, and he's back now, and Mystique played a big part in sending him to hell, so he's not too happy with her. He's chasing her. He really wants to kill her. Now, the fight in this book actually isn't very long, but the chase is epic, and the fight at the end is really epic as well. It's so cool. So Wolverine's chasing her throughout this whole issue. Also, it's 3 people in the fight. It's Wolverine, Lord Deathstrike, who's just a really cool character, and Mystique. And Lord Deathstrike is sort of like the one that gets in Wolverine's way this whole time, because he's trying to kill Mystique as well, and he like puts bullet holes in her and stuff. And so they're fighting, they go, and then at the end it's Wolverine and Mystique. Wolverine is able to stab Mystique in the back, and then they're like off at a standoff. So they're just looking at each other, and then the art just goes to blam, snicked, and you see Mystique is dead. Wolverine killed her, and this was big because Mystique's a big character, and Wolverine just friggin' killed her. That's what made it so cool, and the chase was awesome, and that's why this is my number 5. Number 4 is Wolverine versus the Weapon X Soldier. I call him the Weapon X Soldier because I don't know his name. I don't think it was ever mentioned in the book. If it was, I do not remember reading it. But what happened in the story arc was Wolverine finds out that the Weapon X program was sold on the black market, all the files, and now it's getting restarted by this company. So he's going to go and kill the CEO of that company. Well, he's got a bodyguard that is exactly the same as Wolverine, except with laser claws, and instead of being a mutant, he's got nanites in his body to help him heal and everything. And what ensues here is this gigantic bloody battle all across the city that takes place on a train. A gas station explodes, and also in the middle of this, what happens is a school bus drives by. And so they're both just put their claws in, and they're like, where do we fight now? And so they move on, and then they keep fighting after that, showing that they still got a little bit of decency. And also there's this huge panel, like this 2-page spread done by Ron Garney. He did the art, and it's fantastic. And you just see these guys wailing on each other with their claws. It just shows it's so brutal to see 2 guys with claws ripping at each other. It shows how you think it would really be, and it's so cool. And so then they fight, and then it ends sort of how the Mystique Wolverine fight ends. They both end up going for the kill shot. Wolverine ends up taking him out, and then Wolverine stumbles and falls over like 5 feet away from the guy. And then we find out that Wolverine was able to kill him by simply overloading his healing factor. He just did so much to the guy, his healing factor could not take it, and it was just an awesome battle with great art. Number 3 is Wolverine versus Sabretooth in Wolverine issue 166. I do not know the name of the storyline because I just have the single issue. So what happens is the Weapon X program was restarted. Original idea, I know. And so who started it was this guy from the original Weapon X program, except he was just a bodyguard there. He was just muscle. And Wolverine, when he broke out, killed everyone there. And that guy, he just slashed to pieces. Except the guy was able to live. He somehow stayed alive, and so he's back for revenge against Wolverine. So he captures Wolverine and tries to just Weapon X-ize him, just mind control him and torture him. And he also gets everyone else from the previous Weapon X program. He gets Wraith, he gets Maverick, he gets Sabretooth, and the kicker is Sabretooth now has adamantium claws as well as a boosted up healing factor. And Sabretooth also in this issue kills Maverick, and he kills Wraith. So he kills 2 other people from the Weapon X program, and then he finally meets Logan towards the end of the book, and they have this brutal battle, just constantly wailing on each other with their claws. And Sabretooth even pulls a Bane, lifts him up, and tries to break his back. And Wolverine's the whole time in his head, he just says, the kicker is, I don't know if I can take him, and Sabretooth knows it too, because Sabretooth's got all these enhancements, and it was just a really cool fight, because before, when Sabretooth and Wolverine fought, it was always, okay, I know Wolverine's going to come out in the end, because Wolverine has adamantium, and Sabretooth does not. Well, now Sabretooth's healing factor is kicked up a notch, and he's got adamantium, so they're more on a level playing field, and it was just an awesome fight. Number 2 is Wolverine versus Yoshida. Now, this fight takes place in the Wolverine story arc, which was written by Chris Claremont, and the art is done by Frank Miller, and this is probably the most famous Wolverine story arc of all time. And the art is great. It was before Frank Miller could only draw fat people. This was when he could actually draw good art, and the art is fantastic. The fight is great, and I'm talking about the second fight in the book, not the first fight. The first fight, what happened was, it's great as well, but what happened was Wolverine fought Shinjin Yoshida, and Yoshida poisoned him, so Wolverine's reflexes were slower, and he cheated because they were doing a sword fight, an honorable sword fight, and then Yoshida kicked him when it was supposed to be swords only, no kicking, no punching, and so then Wolverine whipped his claws out, but got the crap kicked out of him by Shinjin Yoshida. And then the second fight, Wolverine whips his claws out immediately and goes after him, and obviously he's not poisoned. And what's really cool, what shows you Wolverine's focus during this fight is, there's these thought bubbles during the beginning of the fight, and then the thought bubbles just stop, and it's just the art of Wolverine fighting Yoshida and him concentrating. It just shows you how focused he is during this fight. He's not even like thinking about, oh, what should I do here, here, and here. No, he's just focused on whatever Yoshida is doing. And then the fight ends with, you see Wolverine's unpopped claws at Yoshida's face, and then it turns to Wolverine's face, and you just see snicked. So, yeah, Yoshida's got 3 extra holes in his face, and that fight was just so epic, and it was a fantastic fight. Number 1 is Wolverine versus Gorgon. Now, I know that's one of the stupidest villain names ever, but this guy is unstoppable. Throughout this whole story arc, which the story arc is Wolverine, Enemy of the State, where he's a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, but throughout this whole story arc, Wolverine is hunting this guy down, and the last time they fought, he left Wolverine pinned to a wall with a sword in his throat. And so that was kind of humiliating. So Wolverine goes after him, and this guy, Wolverine even says it in his head. He's like, bomb, knives, we shoot him, whatever we do to him, it doesn't affect him at all. Like, it just goes through him, doesn't matter. So Wolverine cannot figure out a way to figure this guy out, how to beat him. So Wolverine just goes, he says, go for broke, use your claws, have some fun, take a pound off his back, do whatever you can. No time for anything fancy. Wolverine is just out of ideas at this point. He does not know what to do to take this guy out because he's done so much already. This guy also beat the crap out of Elektra earlier, and it's just a really go for broke fight, and Wolverine does not know how to take this guy out. It's so bloody. There is blood everywhere from both characters, just blood being drawn, and Wolverine's fighting this guy. He's doing pretty good, and then the guy just starts beating the crap out of Wolverine. Then he pins him against the wall, and the guy has the powers to turn people to stone like Medusa, but he wears sunglasses, so he pins Wolverine against the wall and then pulls his sunglasses down, and then Wolverine rips his claws out, whips his claws out, and the reflection from his claws turns the guy to stone, and so that's how he beats him. And it was a really epic conclusion to a great book. The fight was exactly how you would expect a Wolverine fight to go. It was so brutal and bloody and gruesome and just pounding at each other, because these are two guys that can basically not die, but they're not like Superman where, bullets bounce off them. There's no blood. But with these guys, there's blood everywhere. There's tissue. It's just so gruesome and brutal of a fight, and it was just fantastic. Everything you would want from a Wolverine fight, and it also makes me sad because I know we'll never see that in a movie because Wolverine will never be rated R. But anyways, that is my top 5 favorite Wolverine fights of all time. I have not read every single Wolverine story arc, so there may have been one I missed. But yeah, please let me know in the comments below what are some of your guys' favorite Wolverine fights. And if you enjoyed this video, please give the like.
Sorry for the wait, I've been working hella hard. Time spent with friends is now time spent writing bars. So I lock myself away until I'm sad and just like yay, I'm shutting off, and so I'm dancing.